Good morning, mommies. Welcome to Wise Woman Wednesday. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. I don't know about where you are, but here it's really gloomy and foggy, and it feels more like a winter day than an early summer day. But I'm just embracing it. I had a nice little walk with my doggy this morning. And Devon, I see that you're here. I'm going to have you join us. See, bring them on camera. Can't bring Devon on camera. There is already a request. Okay, let's see. Is it working? Is it working?
Hi.
Yay! It worked. Hi, Devon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Great, great. Happy to see you.
You too. I was just saying how it's really chilly here today. How is it where you are?
The same. I just turned on the overhead light in my office and I was thinking, oh my gosh, it's so gloomy and so cold outside today. I don't know if they'll be able to see me, but I see there's enough light, so it's
Yes,
okay.
we can see your beautiful face. Yes, we're good. So I love our topic today. We're going to be talking about the dangers of labeling our kids and why that is not such a good idea. So before we dive into that, Devon, why don't you introduce yourself so that the mommies can get to know you?
Hi, yeah, absolutely. So my name's Devon, and I am a toddler parenting coach. I'm also a gentle sleep coach and a nanny for high-profile families. And I'm on a mission to transform toddlerhood. I work mostly with parents of toddlers, and my mission is to dispel the myth that toddlerhood is terrible and to really help families embrace this critical developmental period and to uncover the magic while still overcoming the everyday challenges that we face with little ones.
So important. Yeah, so important. I think that especially when it comes to toddlers, that word terrible is such a hard label to get over. I mean, I know as soon as I tell someone that Benjamin is 2, I hear, uh-oh, you know? So Ben is my 2.5-year-old who's so not terrible. And he does have tantrums and he does have a lot of will and he is experiencing, his desire to be heard, right? So let's go there.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is so true. Like there are, as soon as you say toddlers, it's like this, uh-oh, or like, or, oh, I'm so sorry, or,
Yes.
all these different reactions that are stemming from this very powerful label of terrible. And that just goes to show you how powerful labels are, that it's already ingrained in our brains that, oh, toddlers, watch out, there's something not so great going on here. So labels are so powerful. And it's true that with toddlers, there are these moments that can feel terrible or maybe seem terrible, but really I really like to look at it as a bunch of different challenges or hurdles. There's peaks and valleys with everything, and that's the same just with toddlers. There might be higher peaks and lower valleys, but eventually, it'll even out more. But right now, it's like this.
Yeah. Yes. So how do we manage those peaks and valleys without labeling them, without labeling the peaks as good and the valleys as bad?
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think that a lot of it really has to do with looking at I guess like the point of the labels, like if we talk about labels first a little bit in general, like the point of the labels, they help us provide meaning. So when we're labeling a child as good or bad, or even their behavior as good or bad, what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand our experiences, our feelings, our environment, people, and that's what the labels do. They're providing meaning to help us understand. And so what we do with these labels, then it's like, well, if we're going to say, okay, this is bad, we're thinking, okay, then our child is bad. And so I think like the first step to moving away from the labels is to understand, well, what are our children really doing? What are they really trying to do in this moment? And I'm a firm believer that there really are no bad kids. You know, there are challenging moments, there are things that are frustrating, uncomfortable. You know, there's moments, situations, behaviors that make us feel this way, but kids aren't inherently bad. And kids, especially toddlers, are inherently loving, and they're out there always seeking our approval. They're seeking our unconditional love and our approval. So really understanding the needs underneath the behavior can help shift our perspective around the labels.
I love what you're saying. It really hits home. And honestly, it feels like it applies to more than just toddlers. It feels like this is something that will apply to my husband, to my girlfriends, and also just to myself. Like, I also maybe do not so good things, but that doesn't mean that I'm bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like there's a lot of shame that can come when we label our kids or our partners or ourselves just based on our behavior. So our behavior might not be something that we're proud of, but that doesn't mean that there's something inherently wrong with us or with our kids.
Exactly. Yeah. Behavior doesn't define who we are as people, and that goes for children. And so that's why labels can be so dangerous. Because then, you know, saying you're being so bad right now, or you're driving me crazy, and all of this. That what makes it, first of all, these labels are really powerful, but for kids, especially the younger they are, and they're just learning about who they are in the world and their sense of self, they're really, especially toddlers, the way they learn who am I is they see what's reflected back to them from their environment. So they, you know, live their life, they're doing what they do, and then what gets reflected back tells them about, well, who am I? So that's how children, the earliest stages of learning, defining a sense of self, comes from what their environment's reflecting back. So if we're saying you're bad, you know, what you're doing is bad, it's terrible, all of this, then this starts to become internalized. Then kids can start to think after time and repetition, oh, I must not be very good, I must be terrible, I must be bad. And that's why it's so dangerous for children, but it's dangerous for us as caregivers and parents, because my goodness, like if we are surrounding ourselves with these thoughts, then that's where our perspective is shifting to, and then we're undermining our parenting and our children's abilities with these labels as well.
Yeah, and you know, this month in our group we're talking about manifesting. And it's like what you're saying is if you keep labeling your child in this way, then you're actually manifesting more of that behavior because that's what you're seeing.
Yes.
So what about labels? What about, you know, more positive labels? Do you encourage that, or do you not encourage positive labels?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's not about, I mean, I think that labels are intrinsic to who we are as humans because we want to make meaning out of the world.
Yes.
And it's not that positive labels are good or bad either, but it's more like, what do we want to see? Like what intrinsic qualities do we want to cultivate within our children or within ourselves? And so that's what we're calling forth. So if we're going to talk about good labels, like saying good job, good boy, good girl, all of this, it can be detrimental on the other end.
Yeah.
It's not as detrimental as negative labels, but it still can be challenging at the same time, because then children are then being programmed to almost become people pleasers and to do
Yep.
things because other people are happy with them or proud of them. So there's still it's still a disservice, but maybe not with the same intensity, I guess you could say.
So alternatively, could we say, rather than say good job, could we say, look at how hard you worked. I see how hard you're working.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be
Yeah.
a shift?
Yeah, I think it's about labeling the intrinsic quality, the quality that we see within the child, and really providing more constructive feedback, because really our as the leaders, as the loving leaders in children's lives, we are their primary teacher. So I think a lot of our interactions, if not all, are about teaching. So it's about, what do we want to teach in this moment? Well, say your toddler is like swinging and she's doing it all by herself, and she's really excited about it, and you want to say good job because you're excited too. Well, that's not inherently bad, but how could you give her more constructive feedback in a way that teaches her something about life or herself? And so it's like, wow, look how strong your legs are.
Yeah.
Something like that. You're doing it all by yourself. Can you believe it? Look how strong you are. That's going to serve them a lot more than good job. Just whereas, oh my gosh, you're being so bad right now. Like we're in a frustrated moment with our, you're being so bad right now. What's going on? Saying, wow, I see you really want to jump. You love jumping, and I can't let you jump on the couch right now.
Yeah.
Let's go out back and do it. Or come down here on the ground, or, something like that. We're teaching them where it's appropriate to jump and not jump, versus just saying, I don't like this behavior.
Oh, yes. So I have a more personal question, but I think it will apply to, many people watching.
Sure.
So I have two kids. Grace is 7 and Ben is 2. And for those who are having a new baby or who have 2 or more kids, it might be an easy road to go down to say to the older one, don't be mean to the baby. You're always screaming. Stop screaming. You're going to wake the baby up. And then they get this idea in their head that they're the bad one and that the baby is the one that gets the attention from mom. Can you give us some tools on managing that relationship to make it feel more, kids always want it to be equal. I don't know if that's even possible, but.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes, I get a lot of questions, like different versions of this question a lot. And a lot of it has to do also with, like, how do you build up that sibling relationship so they don't feel pitted against each other, and that they feel like a team, because they inherently love each other, but it might not always show in the behavior. And so really what I like to say to parents is that how can you bring together and cultivate the relationship you want to see? So if like say your daughter brings something for your son, and you could say, oh, like, thank you, or a good girl, or you could say, oh, I see you helped your brother up the steps. You really care for him. You're such a caring person. Or like whenever you see them like helping out or doing something good, like tying it into the relationship or the behavior you want to cultivate. And then if it's something that you don't want to see, like something negative, like like being really loud while the younger one's sleeping, I would say something like, you are so excited and enthusiastic right now, and you want to be loud, and your brother's sleeping. Let's go in the basement where it's like further away. Let's go outside. Be really loud. How can we do this? It's just kind of like, how can we harness that and move it into an area that's acceptable?
And maybe tie it back into the relationship somehow too
Yeah,
around that as well.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's a little bit harder with something that you view as more negative or
Mm-hmm.
undesirable behavior, but whenever you see something positive, it's a great way to really build it up, or to kind of tie it in if it's something like more, on the negative side. It's like, okay, well, you can tie it in. Oh, and when your brother has a great nap, he's going to be so much more fun to play with this afternoon. I know how much you guys love doing
Yeah.
blank 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 together.
Yes,
You
that's
guys
great.
are such great friends.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that tool.
Yeah, just like trying to tie it back into building up the relationships. I think the more that we build up the relationship, that's the thing. It's all about manifesting. We can manifest the relationship we want to see, and the way we manifest the behavior we want to see in children is by teaching that
Mm-hmm.
behavior that we want to see, and really building, laying the foundation and the building blocks for where we want it to go. So
And also by highlighting it when we see it, right?
yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
if we want more of something, then really appreciate when it shows up, even if it's just in small bits.
Yes, yes. And then linking it back to something tangible, like an intrinsic quality that you see within your child. Because, manifestation, like it's really, when I think about manifestation, like that word, what comes to mind is perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And perspective really creates our reality. It's the lens that we see and understand the world through. And earlier today, when I was thinking about our talk, I thought of this quote that says, "What you focus on grows, what you think about expands, and what you dwell upon becomes your destiny," by Robert Sharma. And I'm like, this is what manifesting is
Yeah.
all about. And so the more we focus on the positive, even when we're faced with challenging behavior, and just we set the limit and reroute it into an acceptable place, that just continues. All these little positive interactions build and build and build into the life and what we're trying to create within our family unit.
Oh, I love that. That's so great.
Thanks. Yeah, it's something that I'm really passionate about. Really seeing the positive and looking at the labels, and just kind of getting underneath. The behavior is what we see on the surface, and that's what we label. But it's like, but when we label that the label trickles down to the underneath. But what if we just
Mm.
go underneath first and be like, what's really going on here? We can start to kind of let go of some of the labels.
Mm. Yes.
Yeah.
Devon, is there anything else you want to share with us before we say goodbye?
Um, well, I just want to say, like I said, look beyond the immediate behavior that we see, and realize that all children are unique and whole individuals. So and by whole, I mean, yes, okay, their brain's still developing, they're still growing and learning, but we're still growing and learning every day as well. But by whole, I mean we are all inherently good, and so when we focus on that good, then that's what grows.
Yeah, we are all inherently whole. I want to
Yes.
just like plaster that on my wall.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Well,
thank you
Devon,
so
where can
much.
the mamas find you if they want to learn more from you?
Yes, absolutely. They can find me at transformingtoddlerhood.com.
Transformingtoddlerhood.com. Okay,
Yes.
great.
And my
And
Facebook
we'll put,
group, Raising Toddlers Courageously, on Facebook. That's where they can find me on Facebook as well.
okay. And I just want to put a huge shout out for Devon's group. It's really wonderful. She has some incredibly helpful content there. So if this was helpful to you, I hope you'll find her in all of her spots. And also, if you have questions on this topic, please leave them in the comments. Courtney, yes, we would love for you to watch the replay. And you can watch and comment below. Also, feel free to message me and you can ask me questions that way too. And I would love to support you further in just manifesting the dreams that you have, really creating a life that you love. That's what we are here to support you in. So take care, mamas. I'll see you in another mommy moment. Bye.